So I'd like to introduce one of my favorite people. I have to say,
You said one.
one of my favorite, she is one of my favorite people.
One of eight.
And they're all the favorite people, right? And yeah, we won't go into tears, crying, all the things. But the best thing the one thing that I really do miss is fighting over tights.
You know what? I
They don't
still
remember them.
fight over tights.
They still fight over tights. There
You know, I started doing that. I put a safety pin on mine. Everything's I'm mad.
They mad. Traumatized from childhood when you're getting dressed for school and you always get up extra early. And really what happened was the friends used to arrive at the door, ring on the doorbell, and then it was like, oh, quickly, hurry.
Don't tell Kaya.
I won't tell Kaya, never. I can tell everybody else. Don't let Kaya watch. And then finally they get their tarts and then they're running out the door. But it's amazing how one can really just give everybody, and hopefully everybody takes their own personal gifts that Hashem gives each and every one. And you can watch how somebody can take those and really turn them into something very special. So it is really with a lot of nachas that I introduce our daughter, Rebbetzin Tehilla Birnbaum. And just really being able to say, you can really see that a person has something there, and it's their own personal nurturing and their own personal growing and their own personal doing. You do. You're the Rebbetzin. No, you're the Rebbetzin. I'm just the mother. Sort of like, really? Let's go shopping. I hate shopping. They said I walked into the shops and was like, okay, let's go. There's nothing. Yeah. Really? Okay. So it really is an absolute pleasure to have our daughter here with us. And thank you for driving Rebbetzin down. And thank you for taking Esther back with you. But thank you for being here. So here we go.
A very formal setting.
Okay.
And I am laughing. Is everyone here a mum?
Elijah.
Okay. No? Okay. Well, most of us here are mums. And I'm laughing that Ashtender is a high chair. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, Okay, so you try to forget, but so our topic today is self-care. I think it's one of those things that we're going to spend the rest of our life trying to achieve the balance of, or maybe we're just going to try to achieve the balance of life in general. Before I do start, I just want to, come on, you can't disappear. See, she's cooking your supper. So I don't.
Therapy is afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Food first, right?
Which made me nervous.
I'm going to be nice to you.
You're going to be nice to me. Oh, wait, record it,
Listen and
please.
record, okay? Whenever I send my husband a nice message, I'm like, keep this one. So I just want to say thank you to my mum, and also just well done, amazing. I think my mother can, I think my mother has the ability to pull off things that most human beings cannot. And I think most of us have taken the stance of, we're not even going to try.
There you go.
No. That's even more formal. I like my high chair. You can leave it just in case. And I know my mother's been talking about this for absolutely ages. I was really passionate about this, and then suddenly it just started happening. So and it happened.
Anymore.
Might lose a few friends, but we'll be well fed and looked after. So really, Emma, well done. And it's an absolute honor to be called Rebbetzin Dove's daughter. Aww. Like when people don't know, I'm like, you don't? Why not? Have you lived? So, and it definitely gets me places. So, like I'm speaking to someone, it's like, okay, and then I'm like, yeah, I used to be a dove. You're a dove, okay. And the whole tone changes. What can I do for you? Like, I like that, Okay, so I think I like my workshops to be a little bit interactive, so we're going to try to interact a little bit. What does self-care mean to you? When I say the word self-care, what comes up? Crafting. Okay.
time to do the things that you want to do.
Okay, time to think of
Right.
collective whole. Yeah,
They
Whatever
can ask
we-
themselves spiritually, physically.
beautiful. Okay, Yeah. sorry, prioritizing yourself. Okay, so my second question was, what do you do for self-care?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay, but this is the first time this has happened in a really long time. I mean, I don't know, has anyone, I'm sure people have done this kind of thing before. But when I ask you, in the last 2 weeks, have you done anything to practice self-care? Can you answer me?
I take myself off to the finishing nurseries every week, at least once or twice a week. And have a
Nursery, is that like,
The garden centre.
okay, it's not like.
No,
kids.
no,
Like that's a random. Like, what?
Oh, you know where I
It's just from today, so that one.
That's why
And
you
they're
use
not
gel,
Jewish, that's
use
fine, I
gel.
don't do jelly.
Okay, so some must do, some must don't, right? I guess also it depends on what stage of life we are, who we are, right? We had coughing, sitting in nurseries, meaning with flowers.
Can I
Children.
touch on that?
Yes,
My daughter-in-law, she said, she posted me an email, she's like, I decided to do something for self-care, and right away, I'm like, okay, how? What does that mean for my son, like, okay. So I said, oh, so wait, she's like, you don't understand, and she's worked, and she has little kids, and she's like, so when I took a shower, I said, I'm standing here 1 extra minute. I said, oh, wonderful. Well, I said, well, you meant that-
no, I don't tell the story.
You got 1 extra minute in the shower.
Literally,
That's what you said,
literally. Exactly, different
I'm sure-
stages.
I'm
Just,
sure
just,
that's
just taking a shower. Okay, so we're all kind of trying, right? We definitely all have different likes, dislikes, and things that empower us, basically. But I think for most of us, right, there's a transition, whether we're married, whether we're a mother, whether we're working, whatever it is, that we need to transition from looking after ourselves to looking after others, right? I definitely know, in a mum's life, there's just the luxury of being able to go to the bathroom in peace and not having the door knocked down. I definitely, every time for a long time, got into the shower, it felt like something was going to happen, because I think something usually did happen when I was in the shower, and then one day I just have to be like, it's okay, you can stand in the shower and everyone's in school, it's going to be okay. So different people are just doing different things for themselves. We have this concept, which is this, okay? Circles. So we're going to use the circles concept with mother and child. It could be mother, it could be wife, it could be husband, whatever it is that you can, whatever it is that you're doing. And basically, we're meant to be looking after ourselves. The person's meant to be looking after ourselves, but we have this bit in the middle. What?
After us or themselves?
No. So we're looking after ourselves, they're looking after themselves. And then there's this bit in the middle where we're both connected. But very often, we're not going to go into the psychology of it, we can end up being, kind of the circles are overlapping each other. And that's when people are enmeshed or kind of too overly connected and spending too much time together. Or when people are trying to practice self-care but don't know how, the circles end up being totally separate. And you end up kind of trying to avoid each other just to take care of each other, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain our healthy, balanced relationships where we're teaching other people to take care of themselves. We're taking care of ourselves, but obviously trying to connect to others, right? And that is in and of itself, I think, very often a challenge, finding that balance in life. So my third question is, what would you enjoy doing that haven't done for a while?
Painting using the beach.
Going to Newton. Okay, so you're both going together?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going by
I
yourself?
was thinking of a Grenadilla ice cream.
What?
Trick Malunga.
What, Lucy? You'll come too. What does someone want to do that they haven't done in a very long time? Hmm? Cycling? Go to Israel. What? Come on, people. Fiona?
No one else in that house. Yeah, they're on the sofa every day.
Well, that's why you're here.
That's why.
Okay, so someone said before, it's that, still spiritual, physical, and emotional. So I like this concept. We have 4 basic worlds, okay? Emotional, physical, spiritual, and intellectual. I remember once speaking to someone and she was like, I really have to do something for myself. So I was like, what would you want to do that you haven't done in a really long time? Like, I really love maths. I want to study a maths textbook. So I looked at her as if she was absolutely mad. And I said, go ahead and order yourself a maths textbook. And that's what she did. And I spoke to her a week or 2 later and I was like, and how are you doing? She's like, I am so happy. I just absolutely love studying maths. Happens to be that she practices accounting now. So it kind of, or bookkeeping, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But I looked at her that she was absolutely mad. Like, for me, maths is like the most disastrous thing and the most hopeless thing to ever have to do. Like, that's why we have calculators on our phone, and that's the
I
extent.
don't want to marry somebody who can study math.
And that's why, yeah, when my husband was, when someone introduced me to my husband and said he was going to study biochemical engineering, I almost didn't marry him. So I was like, that sounds
Wouldn't even go on a date
disastrous.
with him.
So very often what we need to do is we need to constantly be checking our 4 different worlds. And what I find is that very often we're doing something that we think is good for us, but actually it's not really filling us properly. So let's just say we get into, probably a bad one for me too, for shopping, right? We really like shopping. So we keep going and we're looking, we buy a dress and buy this, and like we're thinking it's going to make us happy, we're thinking it's going to fill our needs, but actually it's not doing anything for us. And really what we need is a really good ship. Really what we need is actually pick up a long forgotten Tehillim, long forgotten Siddur, and just daven a little bit. Or maybe we absolutely love eating chocolate and it really feels like it's the right thing and it's calming and it gives us a good feeling. We've convinced ourselves that it's perfect, but actually just going on a walk around the block makes us feel even more alive than that piece of chocolate. I'm not saying give up the chocolate, but I think very often we're almost kind of like doing something that we've gotten used to doing. But if you're not constantly assessing what do I actually need, then you're not actually going to feel rejuvenated. Could be you're exercising like mad, and is all you really need to do is actually join a course you've been wanting to join for absolutely ages, and you start that and it's like so exciting and so thrilling, and it's like gives you everything that you need. So we constantly need to be assessing our kind of emotional, physical, spiritual, and intellectual needs. So emotional, might be going for a cup of coffee with a really good friend that you haven't seen in a long time. Physical, could be anything, could be exercising, it could be just going, sitting on the beach, right, touching the sand, like today we had in our art, just playing the kinetic sand. Spiritual, obviously, it could be, it also could be anything. For some people it could be listening to shir, for some people it could be spiller, for some people it could just be having a nice deep discussion, so we need to kind of constantly be assessing the different parts of us. Okay. Now there's some myths about self-care, and actually I was just working with a client and literally on her way out, she always does this, that said something about, I was like, you have to practice self-care, and she goes, self-care is selfish. And I was like, okay, we're doing that next session. And she's like, yeah, if some other drama doesn't come up. But I was like, that is a perfect example. She knows a lot of, not as she knows, but there's a few people in her life that are very selfish people, and they take care of themselves. right? They always put themselves first. So to her, taking care of herself just flags up as being selfish, right? So here we have self-care is an indulgence, right? Is that true or false? False, right? Meaningful self-care includes making mindful changes in patterns of thought and behaviors that do not contribute to our well-being. Okay? Self-care is selfish when you need and you feel more energetic and able to do more for other people. So very often you can say to yourself, I'm filling myself up to fill up others, right? If I am just filling myself up to fill myself up, then it's not going to work. If I'm filling myself up to fill up others and I'm not selfish at all, I'm getting exactly what I need, right? Self-care is a one-time experience. No, okay? After this spa day, this is not going to be helpful to you, but in the long run, it'll rejuvenate you. You know, I sometimes find when I do something like this, I come back and like my life seems even more stressful because kind of, you know, I'm always like, should I have gone away? Because like now I just feel like, you know, there's more laundry and more whatever it is. But again, if you utilize the experience, then you'll enjoy it more. But also it shouldn't be a one-time experience. It should be something you're doing constantly. And I find like that the mindfulness of it is one of the most helpful things, because whatever you're doing, if it's your cup of coffee, if it's your walk with a friend, if it's buying yourself something nice, if you're mindful about it, the whole experience takes on a very different feeling. Like, I am looking after myself right now. And then you can go on and be a better human. Self-care is time consuming, right? I hear this all the time. Yeah, sure. Right? Self-care, no, it's not time consuming. Self-care can be very, very short. Like I said, it could be part of your normal ritual, something you're doing anyway, but you're kind of being mindful about it and saying, I'm going to do this to fill myself up. Okay. So if any of you were thinking any of those things and it's not true, and then we need to think about what exactly we can do. So one of the things that I find is hardest is to figure out when we're running on empty. How do you stop yourself before you get there? You know, like sometimes you're running, and then you're like, too much, way too much. And I had this really cute little picture, which I'll show you. I did want it printed out, but it didn't get printed out, so it's fine. And it's called Check Your Battery. Okay, how are you currently feeling? And it kind of like goes through the different, right up from feeling great, keep meeting your needs and practicing self-care, all the way down to I'm empty, pinpoint what's draining you, and try to create boundaries, and then to do one thing that fills you up, right? Do you want, I could pass around and you can look at it. But very often I find that it's about getting to know yourself, you know, figuring out either if you've got very specific triggers, so then you can either avoid those things or make sure to do those things. Like, let's say you're a difficult person in your life, so you might not want to see them in the morning because that ruins your day. You might want to see them in the evening, right? So it ruins your day less. I don't know. Let's say, you know, you have, I don't know, some really tough work to do. So you might want to do it in a setting that is really calming for you so that you actually enjoy the work that you do. But I always say awareness is key to changing anything, because without that awareness, then you're never going to be able to change anything. So creating that awareness in a very deep way, and you know, suddenly you find yourself lashing out or getting super frustrated at the people in your life, and you're like, okay, need that cup of coffee. Okay, need a 10-minute, you know, rest. Being with the family for like the entire day. You know, that boss said something really nasty to me this morning, and that really triggered me. And actually, I didn't really stop to kind of process it. Just got on with my day, but like, that was me, you know. And obviously, you can't take that away. You can just stop and think. You know, you can just stop and think about what it did to you and how to potentially counteract what's going on in your life. So my last question to you is, if this is true, what new self-care routine or practice will you implement in your life before you leave there? And I feel like if everyone can, you know, we've had a yummy buffet. We had a talk on healthy eating, which obviously we listened with half an ear because we did want to know about how bad the sugar was for us. We've had yoga, we've had swimming, right? So we've had like a mixture of probably intellectual stimulation, physical, spiritual, maybe a little bit of emotional. So maybe like before, over this next period, you can all just kind of think about where you're empty, where in your tank are you empty? Where do you need filling up? And what could you do to implement that in your life? Like I know for me, I went to Israel with my husband. And basically, he was on a work trip, so I'm like, I'm coming with. And then met Sarah. She's like, how are you here? No idea. Not thinking about it. We can't even move.
No, we were away.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're all live. So that's all that matters. Yeah, everyone was away. Like we always do. We do like book something. Like, anyway, no.
I'm home next
And
week.
yeah,
I'm
you go
home next week.
We're going away. Can you have that? So and spent 5 days there, and obviously lots of davening, seeing friends, just being in a place that I absolutely loved. And I know it sounds silly, but like for a long time, I guess with little kids and life, I wasn't saying like a formal tefillah every single day. I just wasn't davening every single day. And I think when I first got married, my mother was like, "You're hectic, like stop davening, like stop praying, like it's just too much." And then over the years, it gets less and less. And I just took upon myself to every single morning say breakfast, and it's like it's only been like a couple of months, but whatever it is, I do it, and like it fills my day. I really felt like then that is exactly what I needed in my life, and couldn't pinpoint. So I was probably doing a bit more shopping before. My husband is so happy. He's like, "Davin, all you want." So at different stages, it's totally different things, and very often you also need to just daven, and B, sometimes have a little chat with a friend or whatever it is, and say like, what can I do to fill myself up? So if any of you are thinking about what that is, we're going to discuss it. But I think before we leave, you can all kind of check your little worlds and think about what's practical, what doesn't take up too much time, and also what's manageable. Like, saying I'm going to go on a 10K run every day is probably not going to do it for most of us. But like walking around the block twice might, Anyway, I'm going to pass you over to Anita, who's going to do a really amazing craft. No?